Hey everybody. Sorry, just getting started here. Paige, you're on here, right? Hey Paige, can you hear me? I think you have to unmute, Paige. My service is really bad here outside the house, so hopefully everybody can hear me okay.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, can you hear me
hey,
okay?
there we go.
Sorry, the service is really is just terrible here outside the house in Moscow. So hopefully I don't think there's much of a delay.
No, you sound good to me.
Okay, good. So thanks everybody for hopping on here for a little while. We wanted to do a spaces. Obviously, we've been covering the awful murders in Moscow, Idaho, every day, pretty much around the clock here, and Page 2 working back at the home base. And I'm outside the house right now. We've been working really hard. Paige has been working really hard on this special that we're going to have tomorrow night on News Nation, 9 o'clock Eastern. Where we're going to go over everything that we've learned since we've been on the ground and new information. And we're going to talk about that in a second. But first, I just wanted to give you guys a little update at what's happening at the house. It's been super quiet. And then just about 10 minutes ago, and if you look on my Twitter, you can see the video. There were 3 law enforcement officers that showed up. They now have private security outside guarding the house, who showed up. They didn't park in the driveway. So they like kind of came out of nowhere, but I managed to get video quickly with my phone. They looked like they had some kind of like briefcase, some kind of storage thing that they were brought in. And then we started seeing lights turn on in the house. Mo is with me, who's my cameraman, and you ran around the side of the house. What did you see happen? Could you see in the windows?
Yeah, I could. They were carrying evidence markers, which is kind of interesting because it's like an early process kind of thing. So I thought that was interesting. There's 3 of them in there, and they're poking around. I saw lights turn on in the second story left-hand window from the front of the house. They were in there for a while. I also saw lights turn on the right side of the house, first level. Those went out pretty quickly, and then after about 5-10 minutes, they turned off the lights. In the first window I saw.
And when you say evidence markers, what do you mean? Like
the
little cone looking things?
The cone, yeah, they're yellow. They look like triangles, essentially, yeah. And they're used to like mark. They have numbers on them. And they mark spots of interest for the investigation, I guess you could say.
Okay, so yeah, we're right outside, so we'll keep an eye on it during the spaces. I know this is, with the families, probably, it's nice to see that they're still working really hard. I mean, it's a Saturday night and they're out here working, so we'll keep an eye on it and let you know if anything happens. But Paige, let me bring you back in. Just kind of let's tell people a little bit about what we're working on for tomorrow night.
Yeah, so this is going to be an hour-long show focused on everything we know, everything we've learned, the questions we still have, right? We're going to be now approaching 3 weeks since this happened. And last time you and I chatted on Spaces, Brian, was a week ago. And I don't know about you, but it feels like we've learned like so much, but in so little at the same time, kind of within like the last week. So we've been compiling all of it, everything from the timeline. Brian's going to talk more about the sit down with the family of Kaylee that he did earlier this week. And then one of the interesting things is we got an exclusive tour of the Idaho State Crime Lab, right? That's one of the questions is all this evidence. They say they've collected 113 pieces of physical evidence. What's happening with that? Where's it going? The processing, how long all of that actually takes realistically, right? Because it's not exactly an episode of CSI where it's instant results. So we got to go in there and see some cool stuff that I'm excited to show you guys tomorrow night.
Yeah, that was a big deal that we were able to get into the crime lab. So that's going to be something really interesting for people to see. Um, I'm looking forward to sharing more, pretty much all of our conversation with Kaylee's family, her mom and dad and sister. I went to their house last night, spent quite a bit of time there. Just really, really nice people. Just heartbreaking what they're going through. And they were really open and just it's unimaginable because it's hard to lose a child at all, but the way this happened and then the fact that Maddie, Kaylee's best friend, that was like a daughter to them too. So like the way they were telling me like if something had ever happened to Kaylee, Maddie would have been there for them. And now
Right.
they also lost Maddie. So
And such a more personal experience because you got to actually go to the house.
yeah, it was really, I mean, I was really, I don't know, use the word honored, but like I thank them a bunch that they let me in their home and trusted me to do that and tell their story. And you know they don't want us to stop covering this. Like the families do not want this to go away. They're nervous that it's been 3 weeks and they're still a killer on the run. And like they don't want this not to be in the headlines anymore. So I feel like we're doing the right thing by staying here and especially dedicating an hour tomorrow night. Like Paige and I had this idea and our bosses sort of let us run with it. So hopefully everyone will tune in tomorrow night. Paige, there weren't any like significant updates today. I know you kind of get a lot of the updates from the police. What was it, just like it was really just new numbers today, right, in terms of like how many tips they have and that kind of thing?
Yeah, it's new numbers, and it's, to be honest with you, a large chunk, right? We're talking like 2,645 emails through the tip line, more than 2,770 calls, over 1,000 digital media submissions, which I think is interesting. They still got like 4,000 of the crime scene photographs, and this one was really interesting, and I'm not even totally sure what it means, but multiple three-dimensional scan residents, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering if that's what they're doing tonight again, because was that like a Pelican case, Mo?
It was a Pelican case.
Is that what you call it?
Yeah, but I didn't see them carrying in the evidence markers. Did you?
No, so maybe
So-
that's what was in there.
Yeah, but why would you keep that in a Pelican case?
I don't know, but it
Maybe
looks
they were
it
in
looks.
there.
My first thought was like, is it some kind of device in there to like scan?
That would make sense. Maybe the evidence markers were already inside.
Yeah, because it's now totally. They had lights on.
Yeah.
And now it's totally dark again, but they're in there. Like I don't know if there's something they would do in the dark.
I don't know. They have flashlights. I saw them. They turned off a light and they were flashing flashlights around.
Okay.
So I thought that was kind of interesting. Maybe it was like a special UV light or something.
Yeah.
To pick up something.
And the other thing about tomorrow night with the special is we're going to be live outside the house. Sorry, one of our other photographers just showed up. And Paige, talk about the private investigator too, because that'll be interesting. We found someone local that really knows the local area.
Yeah, he's from just over the border in Washington. Spent time in the area covering cases. Obviously, no case kind of truly compares to this one. It's just kind of an outlier. in a lot of different ways, but has a lot of experience covering different cases. He's going to come out, join you outside the house there, give us some perspective inside, maybe investigative perspective of where he would be looking. Obviously, all of this is to each their own opinion and different things like that. But it'll be interesting to get sort of a take with some fresh eyes, right? Someone we really haven't talked to before, who kind of knows a little bit more on the investigative end, who may be able to shed some light on some things. Because while police have been pretty respondent to us when we wanted to have an interview with them, you've spoken to Aaron Snell with the Idaho State Police, who's sort of the acting PIO for Moscow right now. And we've wanted to talk to the prosecutor, which I know that's something we'll probably talk about in a little bit, but they've made themselves available to us, and haven't really shied away from engaging with the media. But at the same time, like, we haven't had a press conference since November 23rd, like the day before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So it's been more than a week since we've heard anything officially from them addressing the community, addressing family, addressing basically everyone who's paying attention.
Yeah, and I think when I've talked to Snell, I asked him about, like, when's the next press conference going to be. I think they feel like they're waiting for some kind of big piece of information, or really, significant update to have another one, and there really just hasn't happened. Unfortunately, it has been a weird week, and those of you guys who have been following along know this. I mean, the communication has been a little weird. Like, initially they said that the house was targeted, that one of the victims was targeted. Then I interviewed the prosecutor, who said that it wasn't the victims, but it was the actual residents, like the house, that was targeted. Then police said no, um, and said that we do believe it was targeted. And that it just, the communication has been a little off. And, like, I really do think police are trying their best and working around the clock. I mean, like I said, the investigators just got here again just now.
Right.
But, like, some of it has been confusing.
And the whole press conference thing, it's a catch-22, right? They show up and they don't have any new updates, and everyone's like, why'd you do a press conference if you had no new information to share? You don't have a press conference. Everyone's wondering what the press conference is. Do you know what I mean? You
Right.
sort of can't win with that situation.
Right. No, totally. So, like, I was a little late to this, just because I was off and I was covering something else early on. So I've been now in Moscow for a week, but Paige has been on this story since the beginning. I'm just curious, like, did you think it was going to be 3 weeks and we were still going to be in this situation with such little information?
No, not at all. Not at all. I think I even said on here a week ago that I thought that they were close. You just kind of, everyone you talk to who has any sort of experience with crime scenes has been saying to us, like, think about the amount of evidence that must have been left behind, right?
Right.
We're going to kind of shed some light on the process when it comes to a crime lab. Like I said before, it's not really as snap your fingers and we've identified somebody as you might think it would be. But still, 3 weeks, that's a long time for these four families, for this town that, the provost at the college told you, like, he's scared too.
Yeah, that was interesting. Yeah, the dean of students, that was kind of one of those moments, like, there's always moments with every story you're covering where you're like, oh wow. Like, I asked him, what do you say to the students who are scared? And he said, I tell them I'm scared too. So, I mean, everybody really is nervous. And talking to Kaylee's parents last night, they don't want to have a funeral yet because they have this fear that the killer would show up at the funeral. Everybody's uneasy that this person is still out there. And I'm gonna, just bear with me. I'm gonna get out of the car. I just want to walk around the side of the house, and I know there's no video because we're on Spaces, but I'm just curious if I can see, like, if there's any lights on. Did you see anything new, Mo?
No.
I'm just gonna walk to the side. It's their third story. It's like super slippery out here. And by the way, Paige, it's supposed to snow like tomorrow. I think it's like 70% chance. So I think during the special, we may have to prepare for.
You're gonna have a snowy backdrop. You might have to bring out the hat.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but yeah, it's really dark in the house. So I don't know, like, what they would be doing in there.
So
Let me
put
walk
this
to the
into
back.
perspective a little bit for those who haven't been standing outside the house for, a week now. How often do you see people going in and out, and like law enforcement presence there?
So let me say, I just walked to the back of the house. It's it's totally dark inside, and the three of them are in there, which is interesting. And the lights were on yesterday, and then someone turned all the lights off. So I don't know. I always get out of breath just going up this one hill. But sorry, what was your question again? I got distracted.
Just the like, put this into perspective. How often you see someone from law enforcement there?
Not very often. I'm trying to remember the last time. The last time I saw someone here was yesterday. I tweeted that video too. There, it looked like a detective, and then there was like a kind of a younger person. We didn't know who they were. There were three people though. One was definitely a detective, and they went in. Sorry to get in your way. And that was yesterday, but it's not like they're coming and going like they did early on. Oh, you know what?
Mm-hmm.
I can't see someone in there now. I'm kind of looking through the blinds. It looks like they're in one of the downstairs bedrooms, and they do have the lights on. They have the blinds closed, but I can see through like a little crack. So they're doing some kind of investigating down there. But again, I think this is, you know, it makes me optimistic to see that they're still out here doing this.
Yeah,
They're
totally.
looking at something in one of the downstairs bedrooms.
And one of the highlights earlier this week was the towing of the cars, like in terms of action going on outside the house.
Yeah. And by the way, like, so it's the downstairs left bedroom that they're in now. And we know that none of the victims were found
Yeah,
on the
that is
downstairs
interesting.
floor. So yeah, so I don't know like why they're focused on that room, but that's kind of interesting. But yeah, the cars were here up until this week, and then they towed them away this week. And that's something also that Kaylee's family last night, like, look, they're supportive of the police. And the dad told me, he's like, I looked into the head detective's eyes and I saw a good, smart man. And they support the police and feel like in many ways they're really trying and working as hard as they can. But at the same time, there's just things with that they're just, they don't understand what's taking so long.
Right.
And then sorry, what reminded me of that was the cars. They didn't understand why the cars weren't towed for more than 2 weeks. There's just things that they question. The dog, the dog that was found here, they was taken right to the Humane Society and not like processed to see if there was blood on the dog or anything like that. Things like that. They're just questioning whether in certain parts of this the right decisions were made, and they're just growing more frustrated that this is taking so long. So, which you really can't blame them at all. I mean, I can't. I mean, just regular people are frustrated. Can you imagine, being so intimately a part of this? It's just got to be awful.
Right. And we heard from Xana's mom on Ashley Banfield's show last night for the very first time. And, she was in tears, understandably, with sort of the same message. She even said she feels like she learns most about what's going on from watching the news.
Yeah. That was interesting when I heard her say that too. And then she also said, which was interesting, that Xana's dad was here a week before the murders, changing the locks on Xana's bedroom door, which was kind of an interesting tidbit. The way it is here, so there's a lock obviously on the outside of the house, which is a coded lock, and then there's code locks on the bedroom doors too, because like you can, because it's like a college house where students live, so you might want to have your own door locked too.
Right.
So that was kind of an interesting tidbit. That was her first time talking last night. Are you there, Paige?
You just have to feel for them, these families, as they feel like they're sitting there. We sit here every day going back and forth on the phone, right? Being like, what are we learning new? What are we learning new? And then you factor in the emotions of these families in this town.
Yeah, no, totally. And like at the vigil, it hit me, the emotion of it. And then also obviously last night at their house, just like, hearing what they're going through. And I said this last night on Banfield, and we'll get into this in the special, but Kaylee's ashes were at the house, and they also had Maddie's ashes there, and they had them next to each other with some flowers in the middle, but right next to each other, because they wanted them to be together right now. And they were telling me how Maddie's family felt that way too. So I mean, just stuff like that,
Yeah.
just so sad, you know.
Yeah, Xana's mom just described them as just a group of, they kind of found their people. They were just like a great group of friends. Everyone who is listening or who feels some sort of connection to this story, I know I do. It's because you can see yourself there, right? You can
Yeah,
see yourself in college living with some of your best friends. It's such a special time. I think that's why it hits a lot of people. You can like see yourself there and being like, oh my gosh.
yeah, no, no, totally.
So
Um,
I want you to talk while you're out and about, but I don't want you to be too cold. I know you got stuff to do and a couple more live hits tonight.
yeah, I'm
But one
actually
of the
gonna get back
things,
in the car real quick. Hold on, but go
okay,
ahead.
that's fine. One of the things that you've said to me a couple times as we've been talking this week, and we were talking about what it would be like to be in the town. Something that has stuck out to you was this is of the layout of this neighborhood and this house. Like it's not isolated.
Not at all. And I'm looking forward. We're gonna do that with the private investigator tomorrow, who's actually familiar with this area and has worked cases right here before. He's going to be on live during the special. But it's very dense. There's big apartment buildings, like 4 stories, right next to the house. There's a couple of them. There's other houses all over the place. And that was the thing that surprised me the most was when I would see the house in pictures, I thought it was kind of like alone or just in a neighborhood, but it's
Right.
not just a neighborhood. It's like a really dense neighborhood. So we'll show people around tomorrow night. Um, and I just hope people will be able to tune in because we've obviously been working really hard on it, and I really want like this to stay in the news, like with other stories that we've worked on. Paige, it's like you just don't want people to move on, and I know that's sort of the natural thing that people do, but it's like and I heard this from the parents too, like they just don't want people to stop caring because that's when it feels like it goes cold. So I'm just happy we're doing the special tomorrow night.
Yeah, I am too. And your conversation with Kaylee's family is so emotional and so important that I hope people tune in, to hear that in itself. But we're really focusing on the victims and these families, right? There's so much speculation over suspect, who did it, murder weapon, crime scene.
Oh, hold on, they're coming out. Will you shoot it, Mo? Because I'm on the spaces. So they're coming out now. Sorry to interrupt you. I'm just
No,
gonna
that's
look
okay.
closely. Mo's gonna shoot it. So yeah, they've got bags, and I'll tweet the video too, so everybody can see it after this. They've got like paper bags. Look, maybe they got some different evidence. Where are they going though? Because they didn't park. They didn't park in the driveway. They must have just parked down the street or something. But yeah, they're leaving with like paper bags. So
Mhm.
they must have gone in there specifically to get something. It seems like it was in the downstairs. Yeah, now a really big paper bag too. So that's interesting.
Wow, yeah, that's new for tonight.
Yeah. So
Well, we'll
okay.
have all of that. Like I said, a big focus on the victims and their families, right? Because this is what it's about at the end of the day. No matter how much speculation and everything is going down, we're trying to focus on them tomorrow night. We'll have that. We'll take you inside the Idaho State Crime Lab. We'll even talk about the role that everyone on social media has been playing in all of this as well. Anything else you want to add, Brian?
Let me just ask Mo real quick because I didn't get what did they have? Like, could you
They
tell?
had a couple of brown paper bags, which usually is evidence.
Yeah,
So
that's what I just saw.
there was
Brown
one
paper bag.
fairly big, large bag, which I wonder what that could have
Where
been.
did they park? Just
Right
down.
here, that's them.
Oh, in that
They
Jeep.
parked very close to us. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, sorry to interrupt you again, Paige, but yeah, I hope everybody will tune in tomorrow night at 9 o'clock Eastern. We'll have a full hour, and I'll try to get that video out soon of what just happened here. And Paige, thank you for all your hard work on the special. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. It's been feels important doing this with you. So I'm grateful we're doing it. It feels like we're shedding something important, and I hope people tune in to watch it.
Okay, Paige, I'll talk to you later. And poor Paige, I'll probably call her in about 30 seconds.
Listen, you guys, he's already called me 11 times today. 11
Um,
times. It feels like you're hearing our 12th phone call right now.
yeah. And thank you everybody for listening. And I'll keep you guys posted on everything. And we'll hopefully see you for the special tomorrow night. All right, see you guys.
Bye, guys.
I was definitely not planning on that. I was planning on going home and, well, I already am home. Going and cleaning my home. What are your thoughts on what he just said and checking? Absolutely, happy to. Exactly, Blue Diamond. I feel when I saw that, my eyes popped out of my head and totally forgot to bring that up earlier on my live with Allie. Was checking de nada, mi corazón, tú sabes. Makes me feel as though somebody, or they felt as though somebody was already pulling B&Es. You know? And that's something we need to look at. That's a new piece of evidence. It's a new piece of the puzzle. We need to see if they definitely thought or felt that edge that somebody was coming into the home, and even tracing his steps, like knowing when nobody was home, tracing the steps almost as if counting and timing and extremely calculated. It's making you go, Like, I keep thinking, hey. This is, I think they're definitely checking the places below to mark all aspects off the checkbox, right? To not left any stone unturned so that they can actually, without a doubt, narrow it down. So thank you for joining me. And this time I will be going for the night, and I will see you on the YouTube streets. Peace.